Okay, and we are live. We are talking about hymns today. We picked up a straggler along the way, Roy and I did. And we're probably going to pick up another, but they are late. They're pulling a Tanner. And this is the Bootleg Weekly, but it is the Hymns Weekly version of the Bootleg Weekly, which I'm sure we're going to go into depth explaining. But first of all, guys, how you doing?
Great.
Did he freeze up for you?
Am I frozen?
Nobody's frozen for me.
Okay.
So it might be a Roy problem.
I'm doing great, man. Doing amazing. Super, super bullish on hymns.
What up, guys? How's it going?
Well. Better late than never.
Is this something we can come to expect from you, Nate?
No, we're not doing the Tanner thing with me. This is not going to happen.
Nate and late do rhyme. So
I've heard that nicknames too many times throughout my ears.
StreamYard is apparently facing issues with one of their features to swap tiles around, and so as a result, they've temporarily disabled it. And my brain is going to hurt this entire stream because I'm in the top left, and like that just doesn't. It's going to be a struggle, but we'll work through it, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we talk about hymns?
What are we anything on hymns we should talk about, or I don't know if there's anything going on in the news.
No, not much to talk about this episode. There was one very, very small, unimportant acquisition announced this morning. It is the beginning of international expansion for hymns.
Mm-hmm.
I think it barely grows their member count by 50%. So we can talk about that a little bit if y'all want, but
yeah, who wants to start off? You want to go ahead, Tevis?
I am just pulling it up right now, so just give me a second.
Sweet. Cool.
Real quick, before we get into hymns, congrats on the interview, Tevis. That was great.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, if people haven't seen it, I earlier today released an interview with Mr. Steven Sykes, who is the chief operating officer of Public, and he was the VP leading SoFi Invest, literally during the years when SoFi Invest launched everything. Like,
nice, dude.
Pretty much everything. Which is
that's a good interview.
It was kind of cool. Yeah. It's kind of insightful. All right, let me share this. Hims and Hers announces plans to acquire Zava, accelerating major European growth across the UK, Germany, France, and Ireland. This came out this morning. The stock was up as high as 17% before literally giving it all up. Let's walk through this press release, and then we'll have a just more unfiltered conversation about it.
Cool.
So Hims today announced a significant step in global expansion through its agreement to acquire Zava, which is a digital health platform in Europe. This will expand the footprint in the UK, officially launch the company in Germany, France, and Ireland, which is amazing. Markets that they're going to launch there soon. And the plan is expected to accelerate the vision to deliver the same personalized experience that it has had success in the US to these additional countries. Hims will establish its own branded presence, leveraging the robust Zava platform in each of these markets by essentially combining their operations and Hims' brand. The company is poised to become a leader in digital health globally, blah, blah, blah. This strategic acquisition will significantly strengthen Hims' international footprint, serving more than 1.3 million active customers. Zava's in-house medical team delivered nearly 2.3 million consultations across the UK, Germany, France, and Ireland in 2024 alone. So we just acquired a whole bunch of new members, I guess. Hims will soon introduce a new personalized dimension of digital health in Europe, providing individuals with access to tailored care in their specific needs across all of their business segments. This expansion will include access to British, German, and French healthcare providers in local languages, and they're going to talk more about their offerings in the coming months. And they expect the deal to be accretive by 2026. In other words, making some money for them. Andrew had a quote saying, by leveraging Zava's European presence and technology and their customer understanding, that they're going to be successful in Europe, which is, I mean, it's a cool way to expand into a new geography, is just acquire somebody who's already in that geography and you start off from an existing customer base, not zero. This is, I think, one of the important parts here. The acquisition consideration will be comprised of 100% cash to be funded from the company's balance sheet at closing. The acquisition is expected to close in the second half of 2025. And HIMSS expects to continue expanding globally as demand for personalized healthcare continues to grow. So the acquisition has not closed yet. I would imagine there's some like regulatory.
Actually, I have a question on that. This is probably just semantics, and Roy and Tempest might know better. When they say second half of 2025, does that just mean the year or fiscal year? So, like, quarter 3 and quarter 4 of the fiscal year, or second half of 2025, which should technically be July onward?
I believe it's likely calendar year, Roy.
Yeah, usually.
Okay. So it could be
Most
close in the
companies are
next 3
parked that
weeks.
way anyway. But yeah, there's some weird ones out there like NVIDIA.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Okay, thanks.
So what we don't have here at this point in time is we do not have how much they paid for this bad boy. But I mean, look, we do know that HIMSS recently raised a whole bunch of money, about $1 billion worth. And I know a lot of us in the community were saying, well, this kind of smells like an acquisition in the works, because they already had a whole bunch of, they had like $300 million in cash and they raised like another $1 billion almost. And like they're already profitable. They don't really need the money other than R&D, expansion, or acquisitions. And this is exactly what we got a couple weeks later.
How much do you guys think they paid for it? If you had to guess. Because all we know right now is, from what our research is, 2023 they made about 28 million in revenue, or generated 28 million in revenue, and so 2024 people put around 30 to 35 million, and so apply a 5 to 10 price of sales on that, and you're looking at 200 to 400 million for acquisition.
Oh,
I'm hoping they
it'd
don't
be
use up all the
200 or
cash.
less.
You think
Sorry,
200 or less, Roy?
I would hope it to be. It could be like 220, something like that. But yeah, unless if there's something about the business as far as explosive growth recently that we don't know, or maybe it was distressed and so it's actually on the cheap. But yeah, it's just napkin math. But yeah, I hope it would be under 200,000, not 1,000. 200,000 is like, okay, great.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping too that it's under 300, 400 million for sure. If it's over 500, we definitely overpaid.
Yeah, I mean, like, assuming it wasn't distressed, because why would they buy a distressed asset, right? They definitely paid a premium for it. And so I would say, like, 300 million, around that range, given the amount of money that they were making and the number of users that they already have. They probably paid a premium in the fact that they're in several countries, not just one, and so this jumpstarts a whole bunch of international expansion for them, in addition to just the UK, with France and Germany and Ireland. So around that range, I would say is like, I think we're all within the ballpark.
Mm-hmm. And they said the terms will be disclosed whenever the deal closes, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, it has to be. It's going to reflect in their financials sooner or later, even if they choose to not announce it. Like, you're going to see the cash before and the cash after, and we know it was 100% cash deal. So.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't seem like a distress. Their last private round or raise was in 2019, and so if they were in distress, there probably would have been another raise in the past 6 years. And I think last we saw in 2023, I think they're like in the hundreds of thousands unprofitable, like at a loss. So they're probably on the verge of profitability or just hit it within the past year.
Yeah, I think they were towards break even, and they had 74% gross margins. So I mean, it's a healthy margin business. I'm really curious on how Andrew and the HIMSS team is going to scale this business and eventually bring it to profitability. Very, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, look, this company, it's crazy, man, because it doesn't feel like that unique when they do an acquisition. Like if I woke up this morning and SoFi had done an acquisition, I'd be like, wow, let me learn all about this company. But him's doing an acquisition, I'm like, okay, well, it's like the, sixth one over the last 12 months that they've done. So I like, it's a testament to how quickly they're growing and how many pieces they're putting into place to continue their triple digit growth rate. It's very exciting. International expansion is always very exciting, but it feels a little bit muted in the context of this company because everything they do is very exciting. They're so early on in their story, right? They're hyper growth mode.
And I think the great thing with this acquisition too is they basically just sell the same products, right? I mean, they did the massive products like on Google Trends is hair loss and ED, just like Hims. And then they also do testosterone, menopause, test kits, regular general health for like heart and cardiovascular and stuff like that, and verticals that Hims wants to get into. And so they'll have that data, they'll have the possible, relationships within Europe and understand that business a lot quicker than they would have without the acquisition.
Yeah.
So I think that's great too. The only thing I'm curious on is I know Europe is heavy insurance based, and a lot of their users use insurance through Zava. So I'm curious how Andrew's going to navigate that because I know he said he's anti-insurance. So I'm curious how he's going to work with that. It might be different than America, where like here it's private insurance and they're trying to gouge you, whereas in Europe it might be a little more public and universal and socialistic in a sense. So I am just curious though how that'll play an effect or how they'll manage that.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
I'm sure we're going to hear more about it. Like the next earnings call, like they're absolutely going to be asked about it.
Yeah. And Anya Manuel, the board of director they hired or got on, I think 18 months ago, literally focuses on this exact realm. She's been in consulting for like 20 years doing international expansion for companies. So I'm sure they would have, they definitely would have thought it out. And I trust their execution here to, think about that. But I'm just curious, honestly, about that because I know he said he's really anti-insurance. So.
And I'm going to assume that their monthly online revenue per average subscriber is really low.
That's my worry too. Is like people are throwing out that 50% average, members, but the members are also paying like nickels and dimes compared to America. So,
right,
how valuable are they really? In my opinion,
with 1.3 million subscribers, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Roy. And then the 28 million of revenue. I mean, that's a lot lower than what Hims is doing. But I mean, as expected, Hims is a monster. So
yeah.
What did you say the margin was?
74% gross margin is what I was.
Yeah, mid-70s is what I saw.
That's actually really good, though. That was one of my concerns, was that this would be maybe a lower margin as well. But if it's close to mid-70s, that target they're going for, that's great. So.
Yeah, 2022 was 76.3 and 2023 was 73.4.
Yeah, no, that's actually really good in this generic environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the margins are great. And I mean, look, the fact that they said it's going to be accretive by 2026 should get you really excited because the deal is only expected to close in the second half of 2025. And if you think about the amount of time that it takes to integrate and determine what is the strategy for cross-selling and all of these other logistical pieces, that's really quickly. To say, okay, well, I'm more curious to see how exactly they plan to cross-sell to these folks or what their strategy is going to be more holistically for Europe, and how this acquisition really plays a part in that as a whole.
Yeah, I'm so curious how this can develop, because also we got to think about, I know there's a law with marketing for pharmaceuticals where only America and New Zealand can market pharmaceuticals. So, how does marketing work for Hims? Because Hims is a big marketer. I don't know if there's different laws and regulations. I don't know that realm very well, but that's another thing I'm curious on. Like, do they have to market differently, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Pharmaceuticals, but
that's a good point, because I seen somewhere where it's United States and another country is
only New Zealand.
New Zealand. There you go. Yeah. So you've seen the same thing where it's the only countries where you can advertise for pharmaceutical products, correct?
Yep.
So, I think that's like specific prescriptions.
Different. Okay.
So no like GLP-1 or anything like that, but like the business that's behind it, as far as like telehealth service, I think you can actually advertise that.
Got it. Okay. Different laws. Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure. That makes sense though.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, Europe is just so high in regulation in general that my concern is mostly around like where can they expand into Europe in any category that's even remotely close to the pace at which they're expanding in the US?
Yeah. But that is the nice thing, though, right? Like, this is a way easier way to get into Europe than having to slowly do regulations and kind of go through lawsuits and stuff like that. Like, this is already also something to keep in mind. This is like one of the oldest telehealth companies in the world. They were founded in 2010, 7 years before HIMSS, and there's
Yeah,
the oldest one in Europe.
How many health companies do you know in Europe in general?
Right, exactly. None for me.
Like, is Teladoc even in Europe?
I don't know.
They weren't when I invested in them a long time ago. And I think, by the way, speaking of Teladoc, I saw a couple of comments by folks that were a little bit skittish just because Teladoc, had that Live on Go expansion, which really was the beginning of the end for Teladoc. But the biggest issue was like it made sense as far as a product that they could add, but they ridiculously overpaid. So I think that there's some investors that are a little bit skittish, and maybe that's part of the price action. I'm not sure. Just because many of those people are the same as Teladoc investors. And when they see acquisition and they don't see a price tag right away, they're like, oh man, is this another Live on Go? So
that's true.
And I'd be worried too if we it comes out and they say they spent 800 million or $1 billion on this. Then I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Then I'd be a little stressed or a little worried that the execution isn't entirely there, in my opinion. But I'm glad they're expanding to like basically the 3 biggest GDPs in Europe, France, Germany, and the UK. Other than Italy, like those are the 3 biggest GDPs. And so, they're going the right direction.
Yeah, I think we expected a acquisition. I remember me and Nate, we did a little discussion last week, and we're kind of going back and forth on whether or not we thought HIMSS should go ahead and do this international expansion route, because with only 2.2 million subscribers, or is it 2.3 or 2.2 million subscribers? Which one was it?
2.4, I think.
2.4. With only 2.4 million subscribers, I feel like the roadway is still much, much longer in the US. So I was a little skeptical at first, like, man, it's just a little soon, in my opinion, to be expanding internationally. That's kind of why I feel like we did get a good deal with Zava, because now we're getting access to all of these countries in Europe. So it's going to be crucial, and it really depends if you're going to trust in management or not. Andrew's proven to execute time and time again. So I don't see him or the team just giving away cash or overpaying dramatically for another company. So yeah.
And like I agree with this comment. Even if it was just a play to get all the licenses and get foothold as quickly as possible, so as to try to continue that hyperscale in a new domain, in a new jurisdiction, then like even that alone, I mean, depending on how much they paid for this thing, but even that alone would have been valuable, because it means that they can increase their timeline or like move up their timeline by like as much as a year plus, right? Even 1.3 million members, like it's not nothing. It's like half of what they have, right? They have 2.4. So like I think to that degree, it's really beneficial, especially because, I mean, this money was just like a capital raise. And I think there's a capped call transaction on the back of that capital raise too. So like if stonk go up, then this like it's a no-brainer move for them to help them move faster.
And I was doing more research because I'm trying to write a long post just so A, I can understand Zava more, and B, kind of just, I don't know, I like to do it. They also have an in-house pharmacy and their own laboratory. And so that's something else that I think will be interesting, because not from my understanding, HIMSS has neither. They have more like peptide facilities. And so just HIMSS understanding how that works and seeing that market or that industry would be interesting, how they can maybe translate that to the US. So I'm pretty excited for the test kits and that sort of things. But yeah, I think this is a great acquisition. I mean, it's like kind of a match for match on products and future products they want to expand into. And so they'll just kind of copy and paste their brand logo onto the page. I think they said after they have 2 more quarters, they'll give Zava, and then they're going to rebrand Zava, I believe. From my understanding, that's what I saw. Could have just been like a fluke thing that I read, but
Have we seen anything on Zava posting about this? I'm curious.
if we did, it probably wouldn't be in English.
I mean, they're headquartered in
Yeah,
London.
they are in London. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I'm looking at a post on LinkedIn right now where they posted about this as well.
Interesting.
You want to show it?
No, because all my personal stuff is on LinkedIn. But basically, they say there's nothing that's not highlighted in the press release. There's a quote from their CEO that says, quote, "People across the world have the same needs. Healthcare isn't personal, trustworthy, and fast. By joining forces with Hims and Hers, we can put that standard within reach of millions more people across Europe." There's nothing special here. I'm going to keep looking actually through their company LinkedIn page, because that's usually somewhere where you can find some information that's not on, Twitter or StockTwits or anything like that. It's gonna be interesting, right? Like, I think right now we just need more information around how this specifically affects the growth rates and what our expectations can be moving back from there when we're forecasting for Hims numbers in earnings calls.
Yeah, I'm curious also, like, because, on the optimistic side, we're expecting, under 300 million. They still have $1 billion in cash. So, like, what's next?
Yeah.
I'm curious where they take it next. I think because they acquired a European platform, I don't think they would acquire, I mean, I could be wrong, another platform. I think they go more towards like the peptide route or maybe a different vertical. So I'm just super excited to see what they do next with the cash. I mean, it's only been, I think, 3 weeks since they doubled down in that senior conformal notes, and then boom, they acquire like the biggest telehealth platform in Europe. So
I'm also not sure if Zava owns facilities and is vertically integrated like Hims is. So more information is definitely needed. I think we'll get it over the next few days. People can do more research, but so maybe some cash will go to facilities in Europe. I agree with you. I don't think they need to acquire another platform per se, because with Zava, their business model, I'm not sure. Like, do they offer personalized medications or medications made in house, or is it okay? I didn't think so.
no.
Yeah, I think it's all generics, and
That's
I
what
did
I
not see any level of personalization at all. So
Yeah, it's just generics.
Which I'm sure Hims will bring the personalization. I'm sure, but maybe more investment might need to go.
I think that's probably where they found the opportunity, right? Is they see, okay, these guys have 1.3 million customers, but aren't leveraging them enough to really, have that average order volume, and so they'll just kind of come in and be able to cross sell and upsell like they're used to with their American audience, and kind of do the same thing.
Does Zava have weight loss at all?
Yeah,
They do.
yeah. Let me double check. They have way more than Hims because they sell generics, so it's a lot easier. So they have like high blood pressure, stuff like that. Oh, perfect. Yeah, go through this. This would help visualize a lot better. They also have Wegovy and liraglutide. They're also, just something else to call it, on Trustpilot, their rating actually is like unbelievable compared to most companies. It's like a 4.1 out of 5 I saw, which is really hard to get, especially for telehealth. But
what do you think about how Eli Lilly isn't partnering? I mean, I don't see Eli Lilly partnering with any of these telehealth players. What do you think's up with that?
I think they partner with Ro, right?
Are they partnering with Ro?
I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. I don't know. Let me double check that before I actually say that.
I'm saying, I know this is a blind guess, but obviously Hims doesn't have a partnership with them yet. I didn't see any Eli Lilly products on Zava.
Yeah, so Eli Lilly partnered with Ro in December of 2024, offering Zepbound.
I think it's a matter of time before Eli Lilly partners with Hims.
I agree.
I'll go out on a limb and say that, like, it's just a matter of time. And I'll even go so far as to say that I think that they're going to do it within this calendar year.
Financial
because Novo, I think was the thing that uncorked this possibility. And it's a very nice wedge for him to say, well, actually, like, Novo's partnered with us. It kind of has synergies. It makes sense and brings a layer of legitimacy to HIMS at that discussion. They've mentioned on multiple earnings calls, not just the last one, but multiple earnings calls that they have been in communication with Eli Lilly management back and forth. And I absolutely think it's going to come in 2025.
Mm-hmm. And what drug maker isn't going to want to be on the Hims and Hers platform? Because now, I mean, the growth in the U.S. is incredible, but now you have them expanding into Europe. I mean, if I was a drug maker, I'd want to have my product on the Hims and Hers platform. I'd want to partner with Hims. So I agree with you, Tevis. I think it is only a matter of time before we see the Lilly partnership.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
It's kind of crazy to me that they pulled this in all cash, because if I'm thinking from the Zava perspective, if this is a company that's established since 2011, that's still growing, that has high gross margins, that's executing well, they're not distressed, I would probably want to push for a stock deal. I wouldn't want to push for an all cash deal. So that's sort of getting me to think that Hims might have had needed to pay an extra premium on that, because like,
probably, yeah,
right, because think of it, if you're the CEO, if you're this David, I forget what his last name is, but the CEO of Zava, you're like, dude, I want stock. Like, I looked at Hims investor page, you guys are growing triple digits across the US, like we can do that same thing in Europe. Like, I want to be a part of that. I want to have exposure. If it's cash, you're basically paying them to leave, and you're gonna do a turnover with your own operators in place and your own strategy. But I think the synergies of Zava and Hims are such that you could have probably got a cheaper deal if you had gone through the stock route. That's just me thinking out loud.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's good as a Hims shareholder, right? That's what the capital raise was for. They've talked about acquisitions. They've done acquisitions. A lot of the acquisitions have been small, not necessarily insignificant, but it's led to some bears basically insinuating that they do acquisitions like this just to make the headlines, just to give their stock a bit of a pop. And on something like Zava, though, like they're not paying like $2.5 million for Zava. So if they do, like, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. My God.
Well,
that would be great.
Yeah. That would be the opposite of the live on go situation with Teladoc, but more likely, like they may have had to pay a bit of a premium, if this is a growing space and it seems like Zava is growing well, and they have they're on the path to profitability, but as long as it's not a ridiculous overpay that they just burn through all that cash that they just raised, then I'd be like, okay, there's a problem.
Yeah, and you guys see that Andrew posted with the CEO of Zava today. So they're clearly like some good spirits there, some good relationship. Hopefully, I mean, it could just be photo shoot, but
yeah, that was the CEO of Zava. Nice.
Yeah,
in France or whatever.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, Roy, that you mentioned that, because like you do have this company where it's unpredictable, and like today, for example, it jumped 17%. It didn't hold it, but like, if you're buying this itsy bitsy company for $300 million and your stock is pumping like $2 billion on that news,
yeah,
you can just do this all day, every day, baby, like 5 days a week. Just buy these small companies. But like,
it's a new micro strategy where instead of selling or accumulating Bitcoin and diluting for that, you're accumulating your share price.
Yeah,
diluting somehow. So yeah.
What do you guys think? Speaking of price action, what was that today? Up 20%, then now it's down. I think it was down 3, 4, 5% today.
It
So like a 20% intraday move.
Yeah,
crazy.
I think it's that Teladoc effect. I think that's part of it. With those that are bullish, they're like, no price. Well, it's kind of like myself. If we go into a restaurant and there's no prices on the menu at all, I realize, okay, probably not cheap, but like, how expensive is this actually going to be?
Yeah. Do you think shorts just covered or doubled down? I mean,
when I posted
not
the
covered,
news,
double down. Sorry.
A lot of people are like, the shorts are going to get down. I'm like, looking at this, I'm like, I don't think so. Like, if I was looking at it from their perspective, there's been enough like amazing things that Hims has done. There's bearish cases they've taken off the table, and yet they're obdurate. They're just like, no, we're going to double down. We're going to continue to short. And so, like, I was thinking, as far as this unknown acquisition, there's nothing that really scares them at this point. And so I think that they saw an opportunity with some of the things that I saw out there, including, did you see the analyst notes that were very quickly published that were like, nope, sell Hims, it's terrible.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was Citi and Bank of America, right? $28, $30 price targets.
Yeah, Bank of America is not on top of it. I can tell you, with all the tickers that they have a lot of different analysts. So, like some news will come out, maybe like the next couple of days, there will be a note that's published and updated. With Hims, it's like 5 minutes later. How can we spin this as negatively as possible? And so they do, and some of those arguments just didn't make sense. But
what did they say? I didn't even read them. I just saw the headline and saw that they did a sell rating and put the price target. And I was like, oh, they always do this.
I mean, like, those guys can go after themselves.
Okay, I've got it here actually.
Because I'm honestly just, I do. What are some bear cases you guys think here for this acquisition? Do you think
they came out with a note like what 20 minutes after the news came out? Like, yeah, you really analyzed this entire thing, and you made an educated guess.
Yeah, and it basically, I mean, I think that they might have had one. Yeah, right here. Initial data on Zava traffic also trends negatively.
What is that?
That's the only, like, everything else is identical to the previous note.
The best thing is when you actually go to Google Trends and look at their trend data for the past 5 years, it's up and to the right. So
yeah, I don't know. It felt to me like they're probably short, or they're connected to people that are heavily short. There's a lot of people that are for Hims. And so they have this like on their alerts, and the very second that something comes out, they're like, okay, yeah, here's the other piece. Zava web traffic down 13% according to SimilarWeb, which
is that year over year?
SimilarWeb,
month over month,
year over year. Sorry, like SimilarWeb, there's got to be better resources out there. It's
like, I don't know how an analyst can maintain a price target that's literally half of what the stock is trading at without feeling like an idiot. Like, if I don't know, man, these analysts, like, I have no idea how this model works where they still are employed, because if I showed up at my job and I said, hey, boss, this target that I'm going to hit, I'm actually going to hit half of that, but trust me, you should, stick with me. Like, I'd be fired today. And yet there's no repercussions for the actions of these analysts. Like, I made a video a couple weeks ago on Roy's suggestion for one of the SoFi analysts who literally held a $3 price target for the past like 3 years on SoFi. And then magically SoFi, after it had gone as high as $18, but even now at, $13, it's like 6 times or 5 times higher, than this guy's price target of $250 that he had. And he just like left his job and went to another firm, and there was zero repercussions for anybody who might have followed his advice. And so similarly with this Bank of America analyst, like, yeah, we get it. You're short. You're not really trying to hide it very well. And the fact that you do like a very half-baked analysis where you're like, well, actually SimilarWeb is down for this, so therefore the price target should be 28 and not 56 of where it's trading at right now. Like, it's just stupid to me.
I think they still just don't understand the business. A lot of analysts, a lot of investors just don't understand the Hims business, in my opinion. I mean, you still have some people thinking it's just a boner pill company. So,
yeah.
Also just a GLP-1 company. I've heard that a million times. I thought I was under the impression that once semaglutide came off a shortage, when you had Hims stock just tank because GLP-1s was going to start phasing out. I'm like, okay, this is great. Sure, the share price is down, but people are going to be forced to look at Hims for its entirety, not just its GLP-1 compounded semaglutide. But people constantly still do not understand the Hims business. I mean, we have seen some strength consolidating in the 50s. I know I've seen Nate posting a lot about that, saying that the stock's maturing. But I mean, the price action today was really, really strange. Really strange. I mean, it's good for my covered calls, but
I'm gonna say it's good for my cover calls too.
But up 17% to closing down 3% after extremely bullish news. Sure, not all the terms were decided, but regardless, unless we just grossly overpaid for this acquisition, which I highly doubt, it doesn't make any sense. So,
and I will get to people's questions. I am bookmarking them. Yes, Charlie, I did get your question the both times that you asked. I promise we'll get to them, but let's just get through this, and then we'll dedicate a portion of this show at the end for questions.
Did my screen share, by the way? I don't know how it works. Did it actually work?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Roy. You're doing this right now.
So yeah, this is just showing website traffic on SimilarWeb. Of course, if you pay for it, you can see further back, or you can just record the numbers like Tanner does. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was the previous year, but it looks like it can be erratic from month to month. So I wouldn't read too much into it being down like a little over 10%. That's whether it's true or not,
Yeah. And then here I'll show Google Trends.
Just casually calling Tanner out. Love it.
And then here's the Google Trends. And recently, honestly, ever since like midpoint 2023, we see an actual pretty steady incline of searching on Zava as well. So, which is interesting.
Why didn't the analyst call this out?
Well, it's a negative trend, as you can see. It's going down right here. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
like
it really feels like you don't see this with every name, but
Hims Palantir early on too, when they were shorted a lot more.
So Hims is such a battleground stock right now that you just see that extreme reaction. Like Hims is not in this business, but they could come out with like, "Hey, we've cured cancer. It cost us $0.01 per pill, but we're going to sell it for $5." It's like, this is amazing news. Short it. Price target $20.
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect description. It's the fact that it is a battleground stock. How do you define that? Well, the short interest is at all-time high, and the stock price is near all-time high. And this thing is fluctuating like, 20% swing today alone. And so like every day it just moves aggressively. And there will come a time, I think, where the volatility will die down, but in order for that to happen, there has to be a lot of pain ahead for one side. And I think it's going to be the Bears.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, the other thing too, like on X, as far as Bears, like you'll see them come out with reasoning, and they're just as extreme as some of these notes and analysts. But what's really interesting is like those that short stocks usually are not like that outspoken. Like they'll say, "Hey, it's not great" or whatever, with a few exceptions. And this is one where like they're just like, this business is basically fraudulent. Everything they do is sketchy and bad. They need to be pushed down, and it feels like, I don't know, that there's almost like something personal. Like they're mad because some reason, and like also they're shorting it, but it's very abnormal behavior, and it's I think it's contributed to the. I think there was some caution in bulls just because we don't know the price, and until we know, like realistically, we can't really say whether it's good or not, because it's like, hey, we bought it, but it's all of our cash. It's like, oh man, that's not great. Or we bought it and it's $5 million. Okay. Hims needs to double like now.
Yeah. So, and also I think, I'm pretty sure the last I saw in terms of the short interest, like in the S&P 400 mid cap, I think Hims is the most short interest by double. And the second most is Valaris, which is a company that literally went bankrupt like 3 years ago. And so I don't understand. Like you said, I think there's got to be something personal. Like they just have to be just pissed off that they're not right, and they're just, all right, we're gonna keep going, like until the end, sort of thing. Because there's no logical reason in my brain, but after the partnerships and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, GameStop comes to mind if we're going down that rabbit hole around like, people taking it personally. But again, like I think that I've made posts in the past couple of months around this where I do think a short squeeze, like technically, if you do the math, it has the potential with how coiled it is right now to send us to 150, 250. But I don't think that will sustain itself unless we have improving fundamentals and accelerating growth. I do think that Hims is going to break into the triple digits this year, which is saying a lot because it's 2x of where we sit right now. But that needs to be backed up by great earnings, good acquisitions, good partnerships, and overall amazing execution. And I think the shorts are fuel to that fire, but you still need like the spark.
Yeah, I do think it'll slowly go down. Like I think Palantir's pretty early on when it was like under $10 was, not 34%, but it wasn't what it is now, where it's like now like under 3% or something.
Yeah.
And so every quarter they'll just slowly, all right, we'll cover finally after 4 years of being wrong. And I really just think the next year, and I think Roy hinted at this before, that the next few quarters are like crucial, I think, for that. I think the shorts are looking at GLP-1 and weight loss and saying, okay, they're going to really miss on revenue because, they can't compound like they used to. And so if that isn't true and they continue beating revenue and not pacing, I think, I feel like that's the last strand that the shorts are hanging on to.
Yeah, well, it's a weird place for shorts just because it seems so personal and so biased and skewed. Most shorts are not like that, and most stocks are not like that. They're like, okay, if the situation changes, then they change. They're agile because stocks can technically go up infinitely, and they can only get so much money in the downside. But I don't know. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I expected, we won't know for like close to a month, that short interest actually got higher off of this.
I think so too.
And so shorts are looking at this, like, even if HIMSS comes out like next quarter and they just, they expect that quarter over quarter revenue will actually decline. What if it doesn't? What if it increases like 28%? Like, it shouldn't. I'm not saying that it will, but they'll look at that. They won't say, oh man, HIMSS is actually stronger than I thought, so maybe I should revise. They'll say, oh, they're actually just really pushing this personalized semaglutide so much that they're going to be facing a lawsuit. And so this is actually great. Even though their revenue is accelerating and everything looks really good, they're going to get sued big time. It's going to zero, baby. Let me double down. So it's like there's literally nothing that HIMSS can do, at least for the next few quarters, that will change their thesis. The only thing that would, I think, is a slow grind as far as price action. Because unlike us that are longs, like, unless you have some sort of weird situation, we can just wait and it's fine. Right. We don't pay anything for waiting. In fact, we can sell covered calls while we wait. Shorts, on the other hand, they're short of stock, and so they're paying interest every single month. As the price action just stays there, they're losing money. They're bleeding slowly, and they can do it for a while. But at a certain point, they're like, well, maybe I should take some risk off the table, especially if the business continues to improve. They continue to partner with like the Novo Nordisks of the world, and then the regulatory action just seems like less and less of a concern. So,
yeah, like, my controversial opinion of the night is the three of you are equally as crazy as the shorts if you're selling covered calls in the stock, because this thing can like seriously explode to the upside. I'm so scared to sell covered calls on HIMSS.
Yeah, but I sold 80s when it was $55, and if it moves 45% in a week, I'm okay calling some shares away or rolling. Like, the premium was still unbelievable for 45% move, which is possible. It can happen. It's happened before, but
it's great. I want to jump to Charlie's question because it's around what we're doing, but I want to throw up Sagig's comment first because, to Roy's point, like, I think there's creative ways that shorts can bend over backwards to make this seem like bearish news, and Sagig had a kind of funny one. So he said, one way to be bearish on this is if reaching 10 million users by 2030 was a 4x for 2024, then now at 3.5 million users, it's only a 3x. So that could be interpreted bearish. And I wouldn't be surprised if some analysts, maybe Bank of America, when they figure the similar web rankings are not a great indicator, that they do this mental math instead. They say, well, actually, HIMSS is not growing as fast as they expected.
So I was kind of expecting headlines from bearish people and also analysts, and I didn't see this. Maybe it happened and I just missed it, that they would insinuate not necessarily that they were buying revenue, but buying members. And they're like, oh, obviously HIMSS is in such a sorry shape. They made these big promises. They realize they can't make it. And so they're going to dilute shareholders and end up using that money to fuel revenue and also fuel members, but do it artificially. So I didn't see it, but don't be surprised if you see a headline
like Roy,
tomorrow that says that.
Yeah, you just crafted a new bear thesis.
Don't give my idea, Roy.
All right.
I don't know. I think overall, we've been talking about all the bullish stuff. I think on the bear side, I am, and Elijah and I talked about this a little bit, that I feel like moving to international expansion right now. I'm not a CEO. I don't run a company, but I just do think it's a little. I think it's a little early, in my opinion. I mean, they've only reached 2.4 million people in America that are clearly way more profitable for them than Europe, based off just average order volume. And so, I'm curious to see how it works. But I mean, what do you guys think on that? Do you think they're trying to go too many directions? They just need to focus on what's working, which is the U.S. market, or do you guys like the international expansion?
I like it so long as it doesn't take away from their focus and their resourcing. So in this case, for example, they acquire Zava. Zava already has an established team, established processes, established operational standard operating procedures. If they were to, let's say, start from scratch, like for example, what Robinhood is doing with the UK, right? Like the Robinhood is now like acquiring other companies as well. But if they were to start from scratch, I would say, like, guys, there's more than enough to go around in the US, considering the size of what the company is right now. And that's my only concern, is that I wouldn't want them to cannibalize their resources and their sort of mental cycles to look elsewhere, where you have a much more lucrative potential market here in the US if you just go deeper.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Roy, Elijah? Do you like the international expansion?
I mean, I don't know enough about it to say. I think I do like it happening at one point, in the future.
Right.
Now might be the right time, but we'll have to see. As long as it doesn't take away from like the intensity of what they're doing in the United States, I'm in favor of it, even if that side of the business will take a little while for them to really begin implementing the personalization and, figuring out like, okay, there's a lot of improvements as far as that vertical stack, I'm sure, but like you can even see from the website, the UI experience, it's just, they maybe even will keep the branding and the name. Well, I think that they said
they still can get rid of the branding, just put their branding in it
over a few months as well. So yeah, there was one quote that I was looking for that Andrew had said, not finding it, that I thought was really interesting too, but let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, I do think all the people are saying is great. I am just, I'm just cautiously optimistic. I think Europe has a lot more headwinds, a lot more regulations than America. Obviously, Zava's, established there, and they probably, they have all the accreditations they need. I'm just worried, like you said, if they want to continue to expand in Europe with, the model they currently have in America, that might be a little harder for them to grasp initially. And so it's a slight headwind.
So here's the quote, and I think it came from the CNBC article on it. Maybe they interviewed him directly or found it somewhere else. I didn't see that in the press announcement, though. But it says the ability to bring accessible, personalized treatments to customers overseas may be equal or easier than what we see domestically, just given the pricing and complexities of insurance and pharmacy benefit managers and the pricing power that exists here. And what I found really interesting is, again, I don't know anything about that market, but I would have thought that the opposite would have been true.
Same.
So like, and that seems to be the narrative. And so it's like, okay, is he absolutely correct? I mean, he knows the business. He's run his business well. He hasn't deceived people before. And if so, like this could actually be an easier fit, more naturally, that they can expand as far as the personalization and have much more of an impact than I would have imagined otherwise. So,
yeah, that's a great quote. That's interesting. And that's sort of, because I am writing this post, I am trying to understand the healthcare in Europe, and it does seem like it's more of like a public insurance where it's a lot easier, and you don't have to deal with PBMs, and you don't have to deal with the middlemen that kind of gouge both sides, or price gouge both sides. And so hopefully, that's true. That'd be great to see crazy growth there.
Yeah, and the other thing that they could really do, like HIMSS excels at, the user experience, but part of that is that you can just go to the website, have that consultation, and then whatever medication you're having, you don't have to wait 3 weeks. You don't have to wait even 3 days. It gets there really rapidly. And from what I understand from a few people in Europe, I saw some comments on some threads. It's cheap as far as for the user experience. And so maybe there's not a much, for a lot of these companies or countries rather, they say you can only pay this much for a prescription. Doesn't matter what it is. That's the cap right there. Or that is the amount for all prescriptions in one country. I think that was the UK. So you'd be like, well, there's not much upside there, but personalization might unlock some of that. But the other factor really is if they're able to have the sort of user experience that they have in the United States over there, as far as the logistics. What typically happens if you go through the government directly for your prescription or your consultation or whatever, you're not like doing it that day. You schedule it and it's like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months out for something like that's very simple that here in the United States or probably even Canada, you just go to the doctor for. You don't have to wait.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited
So,
to see the extra column of Europe now and like the statements.
Oh yeah.
So
Just to see the revenue and stuff like that from that. I think it'll be exciting.
I know Elijah has to jump in 10 minutes or so. So maybe we talk about just very quickly do the announcement for the Hymns Weekly, and then we can jump into questions for the last 10, 15 minutes. How does that sound?
Works for me.
Yep.
Yeah. So we are bringing back the Hymns Weekly, and TBD on the time. Roy was with us for this first one, but I think will not be with us for future ones due to time constraints.
Well, the real reason I won't be with you guys is I'm actually going short on the stock.
Oh my gosh, no!
And I'm on the other side, so I'm going to do the anti-Hymns Weekly. So catch me. No, just kidding. Yeah,
You and
time
Paul.
yeah, from time to time I'll jump on as a guest, but I can't do it on a weekly basis.
The idea is that we can do a 1 hour show every week and actually sustain it this time. I think with everybody in the same more or less time zone, it's going to be much easier, and it frees us up a little bit for more evening shows. Ideally, we do it on a Tuesday so that we can pair it up with a bootleg. Bootleg is not going away. We are still keeping that show. So TBD, guys, we will let you know. But good news is that the show is back, and we're going to be talking about hymns more. Yeah, my tone of voice should not be an indication
is
of my
back.
lack of
Let's
enthusiasm. But yeah, that's gonna be fun for us to do.
I kind of wish, when you were a kid, like, your future self communicated with you as a kid, and you're like, hey, one of those things you're going to do when you're older, you're going to start a podcast with a couple of guys on an ED pill company.
You're going to talk about dick pills to the internet. Okay, let's jump into questions, starting with the most important question. Did we buy on this news?
No, but I did make a post that if this thing for some reason continues to drop and gets under 40, I will be doubling down.
I actually sold on the news. I sold on the news. I'm not even joking. Covered calls. I was careful Monday, and I'm like, on that pop, I'm like, okay, baby, let's go. So,
dude, those cover calls must be up 90% in the day. You should have just bought them back.
Yeah, I haven't bought them back. I'm fine. Like you said, I think I had like 75s and like 85ers, and I was like, if it goes, and I didn't even actually sell all my HIMS positions in that. There was still, I was like, just going to be safe. It shouldn't pop that much, but if it does, yeah. But I've got a good enough position. I don't need that.
It's actually funny, Roy, because I also sold on the news.
Yeah, did you just tell us you think it's a terrible idea, but you still do it? You're a degen.
I'm not surprised.
Secured puts. No, cash secured puts is what I sold.
Okay.
And $50 cash secured puts for June 13th. I got $1.55 in premium for those.
Goodness.
Yeah, just a little position.
What's strike?
50.
50. Okay. Yeah.
50.
You want to give us shit and tell us not to write covered calls on HIMS, but the amount of times bro has been assigned on covered calls is insane. So don't let them fool you.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't sell covered calls because you will get assigned on them.
Just let us know what calls you sell, and I'll sell a few dollars above.
Cash secured puts, though, so here's the thing, man. For HIMS, I have literally successfully written cash secured puts at the money, if not like a couple dollars higher than what it's trading at, and it'll grow into it, and I won't get assigned.
That is crazy degen behavior to say that it won't get assigned.
It's funny because cash secured puts are probably like the most tame form of
Yeah.
of any option that you can sell or do, really, for that matter. Because for people that are not initiated, you're saying, okay, at $50, I will buy 100 shares of HIMS, even if it goes lower than that at that date, at the date of close. And so that's not degenerate at all. That's pretty conservative. But Tevis found a way to make it degenerate by selling like in the money.
I don't even be so $3 above the money. And the guys are just gonna go up. I won't get a
Oh.
sign. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be safe and tame, Tevis, but you ruined it.
Yeah. The most I have collected from cash secured puts has been 12.75%.
Jeez, Louis, how?
Yeah. And it's I have written them. I written them at $60 over earnings. Like I've done the leadership, but like anyways, it's always with a small portion of the total cash, so that if it falls, when it falls, I'll just write more at the money, collect all that premium on the way down. Like I did that this time around, even when the stock fell from like 60 to 25, and I just started to average down through cash secured puts, got a position like 32, 33, and then let go of that position at 46. And I was like posting screenshots all along the way of doing that. And I'm just going to do that whole thing again. And if it decides to fall, it falls. And if it doesn't decide to fall, then I'll keep the premium. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Elijah, did you do anything on this news?
No, I mean, I write weekly covered calls, but I didn't buy any more. It's already my third largest position. It's neck and neck to be second with Robinhood. So I'm not interested in adding. But do I think it's expensive at these levels? Absolutely not. I think it's starting to approach fair value in the 60s. Yeah. But no, to answer your question, I did not add.
I mean, Robinhood treated you guys well today.
Yeah, congrats. Do you guys think that S&P conclusion is priced in? Or you think it's still gonna? I mean, it's up like what, 8% already, 10% this week.
Right. I don't think it should move much. It might pop like after hours Friday, in a small increase on Monday. But usually when you see the larger moves, it's a stock that is more skewed towards the retail side, so the Teslas and the Palantirs, versus. I don't remember where institutions are now. I know it's north of 70%. Mid 70s. So unless something has changed wildly. So, but if it doesn't get in, it'll probably fall like 4%, maybe 3%. Like it might not though. But I have covered calls that I sold in Robinhood too. So I'm fine with it just kind of like chilling here.
Yeah, relax.
A couple of dollars. And I will absolutely cover before the close of Friday, just in case. Usually the S&P 500 announces well enough after hours, even like later than they're supposed to, that you can't do anything as far as exercising options. But I'm not going to run that risk just in case they're early for one time. Like it can happen. We see that occasionally from Tanner too, but the casual Tanner insults.
He's not even here, poor guy.
Yeah,
it's like a staple tradition, time honored, of Bootleg Weekly that we sneak a couple Tanner insults in there.
We made the show just as an anti-Tanner. Like Tanner's not on this show.
That's why it's called
Bootleg. Yeah.
Any other questions, Tevis, from the chat?
Yeah, let me throw them up. This is an interesting thought. Sagan said maybe some of them, as in the Zava people, bought the convertible bonds. They might have known about it. That's what raised the cash to fund this deal. As in like a way to have exposure to the upside without having a stock deal. Could have been something. I don't know. I don't think they publish to that degree who bought the convertible bonds, do they?
No, I don't think so.
No, they never do.
Do you think this they may use this company as a conduit to navigate tariffs, given the UK has a deal to trade products? Interesting thought. Thoughts?
I don't know that Europe was even ever going to put tariffs on U.S. pharmaceuticals because we don't make many drugs. Specifically, there's not much going that way. Most of the bulk ingredients and APIs are from China and India, and they're not having like the tariff issues between them. So even if there was something, like they'd probably just shift in that direction. So I wouldn't say that would probably be the case, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know.
Him's show is the only one where we can make sure Tanner will avoid. Yes, he does avoid it. I also talked to Steve over the phone today, and I don't even think he's bought it yet.
Amit bought it today.
But yes, Fabio asked, how do you convince Amit to buy more hymns and make him accumulate more? He did, in fact, buy. I saw his post 5 hours ago. He bought 350 shares at $54.72. He pulled a Tevis buying Robinhood way later than his friends told him to. But yeah, I'm happy to be in Robinhood, and I'm sure that he's going to do very well in hymns. The amount of like cross-pollination in terms of all the stocks that we're in / talk about is crazy. Although I'm still not in Rocket Lab, much to Matt Money's dismay. But maybe one day it'll happen. When Rocket Lab's at $50, maybe I'll get in.
Yeah, I probably text Amit every day to buy hymns.
Yeah.
You're just waiting until the price is higher. That way you can get in.
Yeah, exactly.
The funny thing is, his first time he ever bought, I don't know if you guys know, he bought right before the Novo deal, but like 10 hours before. So he bought the night before Novo deal, wakes up, Novo deal, stock's up 40%.
Yeah.
People are like, did you inside trade? Like, how did you?
Well, so that night, I talked to him. I think we were doing our Robinhood Weekly, whatever we're calling it now, Tech Buzz Weekly. Right. And we talked about hymns too, the later part of that. And he had gotten in. He's like, "Hey, what's fair value?" I'm like, "It's $50. It's 50 to 55 for me." So we're like right at fair value right now. And it was like 30 something bucks. He's like, "Oh, okay." Pops to 40, and he sells it. I'm like, "Did I say 40? Because I'm pretty sure I said $50." And I had the same thing happen, by the way, with Robinhood last week. So my younger brother had gotten into Robinhood a while ago. He actually bought just one option. Like for him, it's just like a small thing that he does on the side for fun, and it's done very well. And he's like, "Hey, when should I sell this?" Is like, I don't do this like with anybody else other than just like him and one other person. But yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably wait for $70 and sell. I said I think it's going to get to 70. And so he sold it like 64. I'm like,
did I say 60?
Did I say 60? Come on.
The one time they give you financial advice, they don't listen.
Yeah. Well, and the only other time I've given financial advice over the year was with Tevis, Robinhood at like 1460. I was like, I think I was literally pounding that desk, pounding the table and just saying, buy it, Tevis. Please buy it. And Tevis said, I would rather buy at a higher price because I have that kind of money. It's just money.
It's
didn't want to buy pound period.
You get the price you deserve, man. You get the price you deserve. And
but when Tevis pounded the table like many times about hymns, I finally listened. Like it was
like
17,
the good friend you are.
13. And I got in at 17. It wasn't like the lowest, but I'm like, thank you, Tevis. So
you're a good friend, Roy.
How long have you guys been in hymns, by the way?
I initially bought in 2023, sold, and then I reinstated in early 2020 or during the yen carry trade. I bought like $14-15.
Oh man, great.
Yeah, in August of last year.
I'm trying to think of the actual time I got in. I mean, I started buying in the high teens, low 20s. God, what earnings? It was around the earnings call. I just can't remember which one it was. It was in 2024. So I'm not like a super OG, but yeah, I really started buying in the high teens, low 20s, and back when the Amazon news would cause up 20%, down 20%, just like boom, boom. So the good old days.
Yeah, I think we probably got in about the same time then.
Yeah, I wish I held my 2023 shares. They're like $6 or $7, but it's what it is. I didn't know what I was holding at the time.
I mean, that's one of the hard things is a company keeps getting better and you don't know it. You just see where it's at right then. And then you're up like 300% or something. It's like, man, it is. And that's one of the things I do love about covered calls is they force me to take profits, which I'm usually on the other side. I'll just let things run. That works out great with some positions, but a lot of them I'm like, I should have taken some profits when it really just pops instantly. So I don't blame anybody if you've taken profits on this.
Right.
Like we could, as bullish as things are, we could see Hims back at $25. I'll buy a lot more if we do, but
I would, yeah.
I think we're more likely to see 75 than 25, a lot more likely, but that's a big range.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is Tanner and I had Adam on. He's like OG.
Oh, yeah, I remember listening to his
He-
in 2022.
He pitched Hims in like 2022 or something, and the thing was like at $3, and we're like, yeah, like we'll take a look, cool, and we we ended up. I ended up buying it at 14 along with Roy and Tanner. I think still, I mean. That's the best Christmas present Tanner's ever received because I think it's up like 3x or something. However many shares he bought.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, the risk reward is way better when you bought. They weren't profitable in 2022, so you're risking a lot more money there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like where I bought it at 17, and like it felt like thievery at that point. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
I did what I usually don't do. I'll usually like start a position and I'll buy like 50 shares, and then the next week 50 shares, and like Nvidia, it's been like that, not 50 at a time, but a smaller amount, and we'll accumulate over several months. With Hims, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy a bunch now, and I'm going to sell some things. I'm going to buy a bunch next week too, and it went from a 0% position to basically a 10% allocation at that point, which for me is my limit except for unicorns. And then if it appreciates in price beyond that, then that's fine.
That's actually what I did too, right before earnings. Like 4x my, believe it or not, I sold entirely out of SoFi, moved it to Hims right before earnings, and 4x my position.
Good move.
Bro,
So far, good.
The craziest thing ever, and I can't believe I'm saying this on a live stream. My top 5 positions are SoFi, Tesla, Bitcoin, Hims, and number 5 is Hims Leaps. It's like 10% of my total portfolio. Everything all in is Leaps on Hims.
And then 6 is TSLL Leaps.
6 is Nvidia, actually. Yeah, and then Lemonade is 7.
Yeah, you're wild doing Leaps on Hims. Like the stock is volatile enough, man.
Yeah,
if there was like a triple leverage Hims, you'd like still do like Leaps.
Well,
what are you doing?
I woke up late this morning, but like I wanted to check on what my leaps were when the thing was actually still like up 17%, because I'm pretty sure it would have been like my 4th largest position at that time.
You're crazy, man.
Yeah. And yes, I do have these receipts, and yes, they do look very, very good. But I gotta let go of some of the leaps. I think if and when Hims does get to the point where like they're crossing all-time highs, I'm gonna start letting go of some of those leaps.
Yeah,
because it's just gonna get over.
Stocks that have appreciated a lot, that you're very deeply in the money. Unless you think something has fundamentally changed and it's just not going to go back, and it's pretty deep in the money, take profits, guys, on options. There is an expiration date unless you plan to exercise them. Now, I did run into an exception where I haven't done many vertical spreads, but I ended up doing that on Robinhood. And I was like, I've got plenty of shares, let me do some options. And the cool thing about those is, if it stays at the same price, and time goes on, just because of selling that out of the money leap that's at 80 versus the 55 it wasn't in the money at the time. Theta decay is my friend, and my option, even at the same valuation, gets better and better as far as a sell price, which is like awesome. But yeah, take those profits, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's also good. Like, so back in I think I've told this story before, but like back in August when we were first buying Hims and it was like $13 or whatever, and Roy and I were first starting to talk about it, that was around the same time when I was starting for the first time to trade options. And all the proceeds of premiums, I was either buying SoFi Leaps or Hims Leaps or Tesla. Like I couldn't afford Tesla Leaps with the premiums, but so I was buying like a couple here and there, and boy, am I glad I did that. But even now, it's like if I even do decide to sell covered calls on Hims, even if the covered calls get called away, like the leaps are going to be paying me back to compensate, right? So, anyways, shall we wrap it there? Let me see if there's any other questions. Well, let's ask this first. What do you guys make of the core business, excluding all weight loss, decelerating from 46% year over year to 15% year over year growth in a year? The company is getting much, much larger. It's double what it is last year.
Yeah, I mean that's still under the growth that they're trying to achieve too. So, but no, we'll have to actually see a lot. Some of it is, frankly, that they are building out and building up. So there's more capex type expenses. But as far as like the revenue growth too, like a lot of the business focus shifted towards making money while making hay while the sun shines. As far as the GLP-1 products, and just seeing a short-term tight window of opportunity with the GLP-1s. And they went for it. And so a lot of their marketing was geared towards that. A lot of, their advertising, just individual consumers. And a lot of their brand was so identified with that anytime you got a headline on GLP-1, stock would move wildly. So I think that accounts for part of that. And, did that strategy work? If so, you see the revenue that they brought in, even if it was temporary, like they did very, very well. They have a pretty good flywheel too. So I would expect that would probably begin to increase and work its way up, especially as they launch new products like testosterone. That's a big one.
Yeah, I'm actually, and on that, I think kind of shows management's ability to pivot quickly. And they're able to be like, all right, this is an avenue we need to take. Let's hit it and run. I love that. I prefer that over like, okay, let's just stick with what we know. And that's, they want to take those risks and, hit the ground running. And so if they see another opportunity in the future for some trend or whatever healthcare thing is going on, like I trust they're going to attack it full force and also, re-accelerate revenue based off that product. And so I think, as much as that like looks scary, so seeing the core business slow down, I think overall, we're fine. It's still within their guidance.
Yeah, they're very agile.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Final question to wrap us off. Elijah's 2005.
Crazy.
What the hell is going on? What is going on, dude? What year is it? I'm so freaking old. I was born in 2005, dude.
Me and you have a birthday next month, dude.
Yeah, like many years apart, like almost a decade apart.
Many, many years apart.
The crazy thing is, I have 2 kids older than you, Elijah.
That is Roy is actually Unk.
Oh man!
But to answer the question, the last question, am I outperforming all of these guys? It's going to be very difficult because these guys are amazing investors. So
yeah, I hold a lot of SoFi. You're up.
Yeah. Tevis holds SoFi.
And Roy holds PayPal, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna try my best.
Yeah, I've got to handicap my Palantir somehow. So
yeah, I'm gonna handicap my Palantir too.
You don't want to win too much.
Yeah.
Average of $11 a share.
All right. Well, with that, we wrap up Bootleg Weekly / Hims Weekly #1. We're gonna finalize a time and determine when we want to do this show going forward. And of course, we will continue to have Bootleg Weekly. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you again in the next one.
Peace.